Hi, how are you? Welcome to Yin Yoga for digestive issues. So it would be really useful to have two blocks, as I mentioned before, and a pillow or two. So you can use a pillow off of your bed, a long one. You can use something, like a throw pillow if you want to stack a couple of these. That's helpful too. But just make sure that you have some props that can help bring the floor to you. So with that being said, we have two yoga classes, two yin classes in this series, particularly for digestion. And we're going to start the first class focusing on the spleen and the stomach. So the spleen and the stomach are yin and yang organs that work together. And these two organs, of course, rule primarily digestion, but they also rule quite a few other areas of the body, mind, and emotional body as well. So I'll go through, a little bit of what we're doing and why we're doing it and how it may be useful to you. But we're going to start with just a brief overview of what we do in a yin class, which we follow three basic tenets when we come into a yin posture. The first tenet is to find your appropriate edge. So you come to the posture in a depth that's appropriate for you in the day that you're doing the posture. So what the depth was yesterday may not be what the depth is today. So just be cognizant of that, honor that, and find that edge. And when you get into that edge, we find the second tenet, which is to resolve to be still. So make the commitment right then and there that regardless of how uncomfortable you may get, physically or mentally or emotionally, you will stay in that posture until the posture is over. Finally, the third one is to hold the posture for some time. So most of these postures today, we're going to be holding anywhere between 3 and 5 minutes. And it's best to, make the commitment and recognize that you're going to hold it, and you will try not to move except to deepen the posture. And of course, unless you're in pain. Finally, I added my own, which is to surrender to the posture. You can get into one at your edge. You can resolve to hold it. You can hold it for a long time, but if you're tightening up with tension, it's really not doing the trick. So make sure that once you find these three tenets, you find a way to completely surrender yourself into the shape, and that's what we're going to do today. So we will start in a wide knees child's pose, and we'll come into a twist. And while you're here, I'll explain exactly where the meridians and the organs are that we're working today. And with that also being said, I am going to be demonstrating the posture, and then I'll probably pop up to seated to do a little bit of explanation. So, just ignore me. All right, so your big toes come to touch and your knees are spread wide. And you're going to extend your arms straight out in front of you. Just close your eyes for a moment. Let the forehead tap down onto the mat and take a couple of cleansing breaths in through the nose and lightly out through the mouth, and just soften your whole body. And try to practice completely letting go of your physical body here. So if you can sort of understand that and recognize what that feels like to completely surrender at the beginning of the class, it really helps you to let go throughout the duration. So just breathe. You don't have to change anything. If your breath is short or if your breath is long, it really doesn't matter here. You're simply observing the nature of the breath. So I'm going to be timing each of the postures, so you'll notice if you're looking that I do tap my computer, but I'm not on Instagram. I'm just timing us so we don't over hold a posture. And now gently lift the chest up off of the mat, straighten out through the arms. And now slip the left arm over to the right side. And you're going to lie down onto the left ear. And if this is too much pressure, you can place a block underneath of your left ear to give you a little more padding. And you'll sweep the right arm back behind you. Top of the hand comes to the sacrum, and then sort of shimmy your fingertips over to your left hip crease. And gently, gently roll the right shoulder back. And we're going to stay here for a total of 5 minutes. So you're welcome to close your eyes. And gently start to deepen your breath. And while you're here, remember to constantly scan the body. Find where you're holding any tension. So if you're holding a gripping sensation in your hips or in your thighs or in your neck, give yourself permission to release that. So starting with the spleen is the yin organ of the spleen and stomach pairing. And it is one of the primary organs of digestion, and it is approximately the size of the heart, which is also the size of a human fist. And it's located conveniently behind the stomach on the left-hand side underneath of your diaphragm. So if you can picture that area of the body, this is one of the areas that we will focus on with these postures to help stimulate the energy flow and the traffic, relieving the traffic in the different highways of energy that flow from one organ to the next and throughout the body. So the spleen's function is basically to convert to convert nutrients that are taken from food that come from the stomach, to convert those nutrients into blood and into chi. And chi, as you may or may not already know, chi is a word for energy that we find everywhere on Earth and everywhere in space. So chi is sort of that, undetectable energy that is everywhere and it's nowhere, as they say. So if you consider that when you wake up in the morning, in order to get out of bed, what do? You garner some energy to sit yourself up and take yourself out of bed. We know that there's energy flowing through the body already. So just because we can't necessarily see it doesn't mean that it's not there. And that is what chi refers to. So the spleen, again, is taking and extracting nutrients that are sent from substances from the stomach, and these nutrients are then converted into usable energy that flow through your bloodstream. So we have about a little less than 2 minutes here in this twist. So see if you can make any very gentle, subtle movements so you can deepen the posture, so you can release more and let go more. Focus on the face, smoothing any muscles or any wrinkles in the forehead or around the eyes, the cheeks. Keep breathing a little bit more deeply. each time you inhale and each time you exhale. Bring your awareness to that soft rise and fall of the belly and the chest as the air flows in and out of the nostrils, after which the oxygen goes through a little journey throughout the body. And then slowly, as if you're moving through molasses, release that twist. Extend the arms out straight in front of you into a regular child's pose, just to recalibrate the breath. And now lightly lift the chest, and we'll move on to the other side. So slipping the right arm over to the left side, dropping down onto the right ear, floor, or to the block, and then sweep that left arm back behind you. Tap the top of the hand onto the sacrum, and now shimmy the left fingertips over to the crease of the right hip. And however much you open or close this twist, it doesn't matter. You're in the twist and you're activating the meridians that we're looking to activate. So again, close the eyes. We'll stay here on this side for another 5 minutes. And if you can bring your awareness to the spot where the spleen is, then we can also detect the location of the stomach. So the spleen is one of the primary organs of digestion. The stomach is the primary organ of digestion, and it is located left of the diaphragm, and it's above the intestines. So it's sandwiched in between the esophagus and the intestines. And the stomach's main function is to take food and divide the usable nutrients from that food from unusable or particles that the stomach is unsure about from each other. So the usable nutrients will be sent to the spleen, while the undetectable or the impure or the unsure particles of that food will be sent to the small intestine for further review and then perhaps a discharge. So we will, in the next class, get into some shapes for the small intestine. So this is the primary function of the stomach, and the meridian for the stomach, it starts next to your nose, on the outsides of the nose, and it flows down through the throat and down through the diaphragm, after which the meridian channel cuts through the stomach and the spleen, and then lowers all the way down, splitting to the tops of the leg. So at the very tops of the thigh, it starts to travel down the leg all the way through the front calves, and then it finishes in the second toe. The spleen meridian starts on the inside of the big toe, and then it travels up through the insides of the legs. It travels up inside the groin and the torso, through the diaphragm, chest, and the heart. So the spleen meridian really covers a lot of ground. And then it comes up through the throat, finishing at the very base of the tongue. And this is actually why both of these organs are largely related to the mouth and saliva, or secretion of saliva. It's also, in terms of our senses, it's related to the sense of touch. So you have, again, a bit less than 2 minutes here. So find a way to soften more. Scan, are you gripping anything? Are you tightening anything uncontrollably? let that go. Give yourself permission to be completely open and supple and unresistant to the posture. Let the breath get a little bit deeper. Let the back body soften as much as the front body. And now slowly, as gently as you can, slip that left arm off of the lower back, extend it forward. Extend the right arm forward about shoulder distance from the left. Tap the forehead down to the floor. Just take a breath here. And now softly rise and walk your hands back towards your knees, and you're going to come seated here on your heels for a moment. Bring the knees together and just take a breath with a nice stacked spine, soft shoulders, soft face. Reach the crown of the head up towards the sky. And if your eyes are open, if your eyes are closed, you can flutter them open for a minute, because we're going to come into what's called saddle pose, and we'll have to set ourselves up for this. So the blocks or the pillows are going to come behind you. It's really probably most comfortable if you stack one block at its second highest height and then the second block at its tallest height. The tallest block is going to cradle underneath of the skull, and the second block is going to cradle just underneath of the shoulder blades, or about where your bra strap should reside. So if you've ever done reclined hero pose, this is quite similar, but not the same. Your knees are going to come as wide as necessary, and you're going to sit on your ankles. And you'll gently start to lean back. If this is too much for you with the blocks, you can just hold it here with your palms, keep pressing down into the mat and keep the heart lifted. But if you have the ability, you're going to lower down onto the blocks or onto pillows, lie down on the back and let the crown of the head rest on the back, on the top of the block. So this bottom block, for example, is not hitting my shoulder blade, so I'm just going to slip it underneath of my sacrum. And if this isn't working for you, you can always play around with the height of the block. So as I mentioned, one of the stomach meridian flows along the top of the legs. So we're opening up that channel here in saddle pose, and we're going to be here for 5 minutes. So again, make sure you find an appropriate edge for your body today. I personally like to bring my sit bones or my hips in between my heels, which deepens the stretch on the top of the thigh. And if you feel so inclined, you're welcome to make that minor adjustment as well. So eyes are closed, just let your arms out in a nice comfortable T position or down by the sides. Come back to your breathing. And maybe you can bring your awareness to the tops of the thighs. See what kind of energy flow you can tap into there. So when your stomach or spleen chi is out of balance, it's very common that you may start to feel lethargic or weak. If your rhythms, your life, bodily, day-to-day rhythms feel a little bit out of whack, for example, if your sleeping pattern is off, or if your breathing seems off, these types of pattern interruptions or imbalances can also signify a blockage in the energy flow for the spleen and stomach meridians. If you're feeling anxious, worrisome, if you're overthinking a lot, or if you just in general feel very off center, obviously if you have chronic digestion issues or even acute digestive issues, these are all signals that it's time to work out the blockages around these particular organs. Once you do work through these blockages, you'll feel more grounded. You'll feel more complete and full and whole. You'll feel a bit more sensual, spontaneous. So lack of spontaneity can signify that you might want to work out these energy channels. But if you're feeling sort of spontaneous, if you're feeling clear and your thoughts are cohesive and concise, that means you are successfully balancing out your energy chi. So we're about halfway through this pose. If you want to deepen it at any level, you're welcome to do that. If you feel any pain in the knees, for example, simply prop up a little bit higher. You can always prop up onto your palms. Just keep the eyes closed. Get softer. When you feel you've relaxed enough, see if you can relax more. Follow the journey of the breath. Follow the sensations that these postures ignite. So if you feel some pulsing in the thighs or in the knees or even in the chest, just observe it without making any kind of assumption, without making any kind of judgment or harboring any fear around the sensations. Just notice what they are. Your body is capable of doing amazing things. And just remember that yin is an inward journey. So you're working your body from the inside out instead of a high intensity practice, which works more so the superficial to the inward. And about 20 seconds, so you can slowly start to lift your chest. Gently, gently be mindful of the knees. Just come to a simple kneeling pose for a moment. Bring the palms to the tops of the knees or thighs. Close your eyes, stack your spine, breathe. And now fluttering the eyes open, you can bring your blocks forward to meet you at the top of the mat, because we're going to come into dragon pose. Dragon pose is a challenge. I won't pretend that it's not, but it's working so many of the different organs and meridians. It's really a classic pose that we just have to work our way through. So dragon pose, if you do any kind of vinyasa, is similar to what we would refer to as lizard. Because we're going to be holding this for about 5 minutes, it's really useful to have blocks. One thing I like to do is stack them high and bring my forearms down to the blocks, let go of my back foot, and just let go of my upper body. You may or may not start to feel it a little bit in your shoulders, and that's mildly unavoidable, but I'll hold this posture with you. It is a really deep opener of the psoas and the hip flexors on the right side, since we have the left foot forward right now. And again, that's a really great stimulation of the meridians on the tops of the thighs. But you're also creating pressure here in the hip crease and up here on the left rib cage and in front of the left rib cage. So you're getting into the stomach and the spleen organs themselves. So tuck the chin to chest. Close your eyes. And while you're here, because dragon is such a challenge for many, it's helpful to remember why we hold these postures so long in the first place. There are many reasons that yin is an incredibly healing practice, but one of the most interesting notes about body work in general is that there's something called a phase change after 90 seconds of holding a posture, is when you really start to access your deep tissues and connective tissues, including your fascia. Prior to that, you're still working the superficial skin and muscles, but after 90 seconds, you start to really get inside the body. So you're accessing the ligaments and the joints and even the bones. After 90 seconds, there are fibers that are located inside your fascia, and your fascia is a web of connective tissue that flows throughout the body and is full of nerves, and it's really fascinating, and we can talk about that another time if you'd like to. But inside the fascia are fibers, and after 90 seconds, these fibers, from the stress, which is a good stress, the stress of the posture itself, start to secrete different chemicals that help to strengthen the tissues that we're working. So aside from working the different energy centers and the energy channels, we're also applying pressure and working to regenerate the tissues and connective ligaments and things directly. So there is also a very physical benefit to this practice. You have less than 2 minutes here in this posture. If you can surrender more, if you can change the configuration of your blocks, please do so. And just be still. When you feel yourself tensing, just back off a tiny bit, come back to the flow of the breath. Honor the space that you're in and soften around this hold. If you're gripping the left toes into the earth, maybe you have to lift the chest up a tiny bit. We have less than 1 minute. Breathe and let go. It's okay if you slightly lift the inner arch of the left foot. It's okay. And now gently, palms to the earth or to the block, start to straighten out through the arms. And now so slowly, just straighten out through the left leg and hinge your hips back for a moment. And now come forward, bending into the left knee. And heel toe your left foot over to the right side of the mat. So we'll come into sleeping swan, which is a version of pigeon, but not quite as deep. We are not working to keep the front shin parallel with the top of the mat at all. So the left knee can even come center, or it can come behind the left wrist. And then using your blocks or whatever you deem necessary, start to fold forward, starting on the forearms, and just staying here for a minute and playing around with what your maximum capacity is here today. Yin is a really great practice for the bones as well. And especially if you happen to have osteoporosis or know that osteoporosis runs in the family, yin postures, after holding them for some time, start to apply pressure to the periosteum, which is the outer layer of the bone. And from that pressure, the outer layer will start to release moisture and collagen, which will in turn strengthen your bones. So the teacher from whom I learned yin really liked to say that yin is not a stretch, yin is a stress. Yin is a loading of pressure on different parts of the body in order to regenerate those parts of the body. So you're applying a good stress to your bones. If you want to come down a little bit more, maybe to the chest with the eyes closed, maybe you just want to form a little pillow with your hands to place them underneath of your forehead or fists, whatever feels good for you here. Swan pose is a really great activator for almost all of the organs and all of the 12 meridians that we work in the yin practice. It taps into your urinary bladder meridians, it taps into the kidneys, the lungs, the liver, pretty much every organ that we focus on in this practice will be activated and stimulated by swan. So we have about 2 minutes left. Ask yourself, how much more can you surrender? How much softer can you get? Can you gently encourage the shoulders away from the ears? Can you soften the sides of the neck and the top of the right thigh? Can you loosen the hips and the lower back, spreading the sacrum? Now slowly start to rise. Press into the earth. Palms down into the mat. Just take a second here with the heart lifted and the shoulders back. And now roll over onto that left knee. And bring the right knee forward. And just take a second here to hug the thighs into the chest, wrap your arms around your shins, lift up through the crown of the head, stack the spine, and you might feel a little crunchy in the right hip crease. You've just done a really deep stretch of the front of the right hip, so it's normal that you would feel a little bit of tension there. Okay, now cross the ankles and lightly come back to a tabletop position, moving as slow as you can. And now we will move it on to the other side. So we'll start with dragon on the right side. We'll step the right foot forward, keeping the right ankle tractioning underneath of the right knee. And now we'll extend that left leg back as much as is comfortable to the point at which we reach our edge. And then you will either set the forearms onto the block if that's okay for you, or you can keep yourself lifted up if that feels better for you, back toes tucked or not. Close your eyes. Observe the difference between the right side and the left side. There's always one. And it doesn't mean there's anything right or wrong about it. It just means that it's different. And come back to your meditation. Yin is a hyper meditative practice. Follow your breath. Follow the shapes behind the eyelids when your eyes are closed. Maybe focus on the sounds that you hear surrounding you. But use something, find a tool to keep your focus here. Everything gets heavier. Allow yourself to melt. Nothing's going to rip or tear. So holding on to these postures with tension is what will create injury. But allowing your body to fall deeply into the shape with confidence and with faith will do the exact opposite and will really help you lengthen and stress and recover and regenerate. So we have less than 2 minutes here. Maybe you can find a new edge, a new depth. Remember, it's all right if the inner arch of the right foot lifts and you roll a tiny bit onto the outer edge of the right foot. It's okay. You will still receive the benefits necessary. We have about 30 more seconds, so really let it go. Really fall into the shape. And now slowly, slowly press into the palms, lift on up. Walk your hands or blocks back to be underneath the shoulders and gently, gently straighten out the right leg. Toes lift, hips come back to a half split, and now bend, re-bend into the right knee and walk your right foot over to the left side, dropping the right knee behind the right wrist or where your right wrist was, and then walk it forward. Maybe you stay here on the palms or you come to the forearms. Eyes closed, sleeping swan. And if at any point you start to have trouble with the stillness, sometimes it's nice to count your inhales and your exhales, count the length of them. Maybe try to make the exhale just about 2 seconds longer than the inhale. Bring your awareness to the toes. If you're gripping the toes, maybe move them a tiny bit just to let go of that tension. Wiggle them, wiggle the fingers. We're just about halfway through the pose. So find even more depth with it. Maybe you even shimmy that left foot back a little bit more to get longer in the left front of the left thigh and shin. Listen to your breath. We have a visitor. Finally, I was hoping she'd come out to say hi. I guess she's going to hang out on the mat with us today. Keep breathing, keep softening. We have about 30 seconds remaining. Give yourself a full release. Now slowly, slowly start to lift the torso. press the palms into the earth and just stay here for a moment. So press the heels of the hands into the mat. Draw shoulders back. Lightly encourage the hips down to the floor for just one more final deep stretch in this swan. And now roll onto the outside of the right hip. Bring the left foot forward. Hey, baby doll. And now hug the knees into the chest one more time like we did before. And now if you are planning on doing anything relatively active after this, I invite you to flow through a vinyasa. Otherwise, if you're planning to just, take it easy for the rest of the night, I invite you to just do a couple of cat-cows. I don't have space. Look, my entire life revolves around the comfort of my cat. Okay, hands underneath the shoulders. Inhale, belly down, heart forward, look up. Exhale softly through the mouth as you tuck the tailbone, tuck the chin to chest, round the spine. Cat pose, how appropriate. Inhale, drop the belly, send the heart in between the biceps, lift the chin, lift the sit bones. Exhale, slow out the mouth, hug the belly button in toward the spine, press the earth away with the hands. Last one, inhale, float the heart forward, belly dips. Exhale out, slow through the mouth, round and tuck into a cat. Inhale, come here to a neutral spine if you're in a downward facing dog. Lower down onto the knees, and then we'll come into a seated pose, sitting down on your shins. And if this is uncomfortable, you can also slip a block in between your ankles, hugging the block with the ankles and then bringing your seat down to the block. So whatever is serving you and calling you in this moment. And we're going to do a little breathing exercise, which is known as Kabbalah Bhakti. And Kabbalah Bhakti is a rapid breath out through the nose. It's known as skull shining because it does a lot of clearing of the sinuses. But another thing, couple of things that it also does is it improves your circulation and it flushes out any excess gases or waste within the bloodstream and within your respiratory system. So it really does help to activate digestion as well as anything going on with respiratory issues. So it's a great breath to have in your back pocket when you're feeling a little bit stagnant and when you're feeling a little bit full. So it's good if you feel like your nose is a little stuffed, you might want to blow your nose first. And hands come to your thighs, and I'll explain it and then we'll do it. So you'll take a deep breath in through the nose and a long exhale out through the mouth, just empty yourself. And then we're going to take 3 Ujjayi breaths together, constricting the back of the throat slightly. So inhale through the nose, Ujjayi, exhale. Inhale. Ujjayi, exhale. One more, inhale. Ujjayi, exhale. And now take a regular breath in, and we'll do forceful exhalations through the nose, pumping the belly button back toward the spine. So you're activating the abdominals and pushing the air out through your nostrils. We'll run through 30 rounds, 3 separate times. So one more time, deep breath in because I talk too much. And short spurted exhales through the nose. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold it out. Big breath in. Big breath out. Breathe naturally for a few rounds. And if you notice a, blood rush sensation, that's good. You're activating energy. Keep the spine stacked. We'll go through a second round of 30 pumps. So deep inhale. And we begin. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Big breath in. Exhale it all out. Couple normal breaths in and out through the nose. We'll finish with one final round of 30 breaths. Breathe in and begin. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale. Open mouth, exhale. Couple rounds in and out through the nose. And then softly flutter the eyes open. And come back onto your sit bones. Extend the legs out in a wide-legged V. As wide as you need to or want to. And as much as you can completely relax your feet, relax your feet. So we don't want to flex, we want to just release. So your toes might roll inward or your toes might roll outward depending on the rotation of your hip, it doesn't matter. We'll finish this off with an easy twist and then I'll leave you for your own Shavasana. So we're mirrored, but that doesn't matter. You're just going to take a gentle twist over to the right thigh. Your hands are going to frame the right thigh easily. And if you prefer, you can even bring your left hand to the thigh and the right arm sweeps back behind you, grabbing that left hip crease. So whatever you want to do here, it's just a simple twist. But remember to always totally let go of the muscle. There's no tensing or holding of muscle. You can close the eyes. And in the most effortless way possible, try to keep the spine nice and tall and stacked. So that twist is coming from the mid-back, from the thoracic, and even from the belly. Always continue to scan your legs. Can you let go a little bit more while keeping a lift in the chest? Awareness to your toes is really helpful to notice if you're gripping or flexing. And now slowly, just very gently walk it through center and easy twist to the other side. Spine is long. Feet are soft. No tension in the muscle. Keep elevating the heart, rolling the left shoulder back. Beatrice is out here. I think she's hungry. She's always hungry. She's like her owner. Softly, softly walk it back through center. Walk it forward just for a couple of breaths. Fold here. Nothing to do, just a regular rounded old spine, chin tucked to chest, head is heavy. And now walk it back up. Take a hold of the outsides of the legs. Bring the legs together. And you'll slowly, one vertebra at a time, lie all the way down onto the back. Let your feet come out wide. Let your hands and arms come out wide. Close your eyes. And I would like to leave you here to enjoy Shavasana for as long as you like. And I thank you for allowing me to guide you through this practice and for sharing your practice with me. So enjoy your Shavasana, namaste, and I'll see you for the next one.